Today we're going to do a quick overview on how I used AI to create one of my music videos. I used Runway Gen 3 Alpha for the visuals, Topaz Labs to increase the resolution, Suno AI for the music, and Premiere Pro to edit it all together. We will get into the technical step-by-step process, but also the behind the scenes and how you can start thinking like an AI director. Here's a quick sample of the music video. So I'm going to mute that there so I can talk, but you can watch the video at the link in the description. Basically, I just had this idea, Vikings fighting zombie Vikings, and Runway ML, which is the program where you get the footage from, says they can do all this stuff. And well, you're looking at it right now. It's a ton of fun because as the story develops in your mind, you can create your vision in real time. So I started with a few shots of Viking boats sailing through the ocean. Then while I was editing it, I would have another idea, like a town on fire. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And I just typed in, got a few shots and threw them in the edit. I had an assembly line of cool shots. I've never had something like this before. So this music video is about 4 minutes long. And it required about 1,000 generations, which is what it's called when you create an AI clip. So for 1 minute of video, that's about 250 generations, because 50 of them are errors, 100 of them aren't so good, but 100 of them are really good. And actually, that's a great ratio, especially what AI was like 6 months ago. Now, each generation takes a couple minutes, let's say. So it is very time consuming. One thing I did was I just logged in on my phone on the Runway website, and I would just make these clips, on the couch or whatever, all day long. And then I would come back to my editing program with tons of awesome footage. And it took about 100 hours of total work. And it's amazing because previously there would be thousands and thousands of hours of animation and shooting and editing the music and cutting the video. It's really remarkable what we can do now. It could be over 100 hours, of course, depending on what someone wants and how many revisions they have. There's a lot of experimentation and trial and error that goes into this. I mean, you get a lot of wonky stuff. Like half the time people's heads are missing, or someone flies off into space for no reason. Dragons were actually really difficult. It's funny, it didn't even want to do dragons at first, but it seems like it learns over time what you want, and it just sort of tries harder. So I eventually got dragons. People were much easier. As you can see, it is really good with people. It's like having a stock footage website where anything you could ever think of or imagine is at your fingertips. I would just type in stuff like dragons, teal lightning, Thor playing guitar, shooting lightning out of a guitar. And it would give me all these options. And then the fun part was just putting it all together. One thing I want to mention that I think is important is that AI doesn't mean less hours for us animators or less work for us. It's at least the same number of hours, maybe more because of all the trial and error. But now, we're just 1,000 times more powerful. We're just going to make better, more amazing stuff. I want to jump into how I made the music with Suno AI. This is where you should start too. Creating the music is probably the most fun in my opinion. This is what it looks like. You can add your own lyrics in the box at the top, or hit Write with Suno to have it write lyrics based off your idea. Choose which model you want. Just experiment with both. I'm going to type in epic and funny song about a giant grilled cheese sandwich battling a giant spaghetti dinner in whatever rhyming style you want. And then you just hit Write Lyrics and it writes lyrics for you. Then just underneath that, write the style of music you want. Title it, and hit Create, and bam. They have a free trial, but if you want the rights to the music, you'll have to subscribe. Okay, getting on to the visuals. I used Runway Gen 3, which also has a free trial. After you make an account, click on Generative Session on the left under Tools. Here's your blank canvas to create your mind-blowing art. Just begin by typing your vision in with as much detail as possible and start having fun. Here's a shot with my prompt. So if you don't know, the future of video is going to be prompting. That means having a vision and communicating that vision to the AI program. The sooner you get good at this, the more marketable your skills are going to be going forward. So you want to do stuff like tell it the camera angle, the camera shots, what's happening with the subject of the shots, and emotions like dramatic, exciting. So this one's close-up wooden zombie warship mast. I didn't put commas, I probably should have, but it didn't matter. In rainstorm, slow motion, moving camera, big crashing waves, teal lightning, dramatic, cinematic Hollywood movie. The more you can add, the better. Here's another one. So these are all the good clips. I'll show you the bad clips later. So this one's close up, looking up at Viking sail flapping and wind background, night sky, dramatic teal and purple, cinematic Hollywood movie background, battlefield. Another cool thing is that by going through this process, the AI can start to spark new ideas for you. Like I'll just keep punching in the same prompt and I'll get some crazy new thing I never thought of. And then that takes me down a whole nother road of ideas or characters or creatures. You also want to learn what this particular AI model can do. It's like hiring an amazing artist, but you don't know what they do yet. You have to learn about them and their skills. You'll come to find the specific things it can't do and just have to work around them. Runway wasn't able to make skeletons laughing because I guess all its reference material just had the skulls very stationary. I think it's gotten better at that since then, but there's going to be things it will just struggle with for a while until they work out all the bugs. I have always found a workaround, though, by just getting creative with a different kind of shot. So I wanted Thor. I don't think it knew Thor, though, so I had to try to trick it and write in stuff like long white hair or whatever, Viking armor, blah blah. You have to think how it thinks. This is probably my favorite shot. I was just trying to get a dragon, so I wrote close-up zombie Viking riding on a big dragon, cinematic. And then it decided to morph its head. I love that. This one I tried playing with the camera. I wrote start close on Viking warrior face and pull back to see destroyed battlefield cinematic, and it did it! Now this one was the first one I tried and it came out awesome. Every single other one, their heads are turned around or like they're missing arms, so it's trial and error. So on the right here you see the seed, and that is very important. If you made something cool, and you're trying to recreate it or change it just a little, you're going to want to copy that seed. And that's pretty much the same for all AI programs. And the seed is kind of like that idea. So this one has a couple people standing in the foreground with stars in the background. So you'll get something similar. If you're focusing on a character, you'll get something similar to that character. So that is one way. But if you really want consistency, you'll have to start with the image generator, either in Runway or another program, like Adobe Firefly or Night Cafe, because you get way more detailed control. So you can make your character and get all these different angles, and then you bring them into Runway and animate them, but I will actually get into that soon. Here's just some more random examples of cool shots. I love the exploding shields. Normally you need special VFX software that can do complicated simulations, and it can take days to get one shot right. Now AI can do it in seconds. It's really unbelievable, and in my opinion, it's going to change the industry and put a lot more power in your hands. Like this one. So I wrote close-up, zooming in, Viking shield, shattering, exploding, cinematic Hollywood blockbuster movie. Shattering is an important ability that they've recently added. You want to learn how the program thinks. You want to learn all the words it knows. And that's one of the most time-consuming parts, but it will help you master this new skill. You'll want to check out my other video where I go over the Runway prompting guide with all the words you want to know to become a pro with Runway AI video. The axes were really hard to get. I'm guessing they didn't have a lot of axe material, or at least cool Viking axe material. So this one did not come from an image. It just took tons of generations to get it right. This is just an amazing one of a close-up of a Viking with war paint. Their dramatic, cinematic humans have gotten way better. Not perfect, though. Hands are usually difficult, but it's really amazing how far they've come. Creating generated video is kind of like a slot machine. You don't know what you're gonna get, and it's a lot of fun. This is one of the dragons that kind of came up very cartoonish, because I'm guessing they don't have a lot of high-end CG dragon footage, like Game of Thrones style. For this I wrote, shaky camera, dragon flying over Viking epic war scene, breathing teal fire, cinematic, dramatic, Hollywood, slow motion. For this next one I wrote, FPV, which means first-person view, fast drone flying over Viking battlefield, war, castle on land, big explosions, dark, moody, dramatic, cinematic. For this I said, extreme close-up, FPV, fast drone flying over Viking castle, exploding, shattering, collapsing, dark, moody, dramatic, cinematic. One thing it could not do at the time was give someone an eye patch. I wanted Odin on drums, and he has an eye patch along with ravens. Just like Thor, it didn't really seem to know who Odin was, so I had to write close-up old man, Norse god with eye patch, metal band drummer with ravens on drum set, rocking out on a battlefield, explosions, slow motion, dramatic, and cinematic. I never got the eye patch, but this clip had a good look to it. This one had a similar prompt, and instead of adding ravens, it turned him into a raven. I thought that was a really great shot though, so I used it. This is how the AI can help you branch out into new ideas. This one was just some more eye patch strangeness. Here is a bad dragon. And here are some terrible boats. For this one, I wanted a close-up of feet jumping into the mud, which it had a tough time with. But still, the water in these generations is just unbelievable. To do this in a simulation would take a very long time, and you don't have as much control, of course, that you would have in a 3D program. But for certain applications, this is just wild. That's one of those things you just have to spend a lot of time on. I was having a lot of trouble with axes too, so what I did was I used Runway's image generator to make a bunch of axes, which you will find here under Tools on your Runway dashboard. Then it's very similar to the video generator. Just make sure it is set to widescreen, 2K resolution, the style you want, and number of outputs, 4. After like 100 images, I got this one. This one was Viking, War, Celtic designs. I had to put Celtic because it didn't really have Viking designs, so I had to do a workaround just to get something cool. Sitting on wooden ship nighttime. Dark, moody, dramatic, teal highlights. Then save your favorite image and go back to your dashboard and to Generative Session again and click Select Asset to find that image, or just drag and drop it onto this box. And type a prompt to make your still image come to life. For mine, I just typed in dark nighttime background, rough sea waters, ocean spray. Even though it couldn't change the image from day to night, it still came out pretty good. So next, let's look at trying to get a consistent character, which is, of course, a big deal. Here's the female singer with purple hair I created. So you're going to want very detailed descriptions, the more the better, especially the little details. So this one I wrote, wide shot. Beautiful 25-year-old Viking warrior woman, leather armor and Viking sword with purple braided hair, bright neon glowing teal eyes, which didn't really work for her. Worked on like the zombies or whatever. Sword fight with a Viking didn't really happen. Maybe I had to write like with another Viking or something. Dark, moody, dramatic, cinematic Hollywood. So I did that. So that's text to still image. And then there are image evolution tools in Runway to allow you to get different angles of the character or slight variations of the character. If you're not getting what you want, you might have to jump around to a couple of other sites like Adobe Firefly or Night Cafe. Runway, however, is trying to be the silver bullet for video creators, and maybe one day they will be. So like before, I talked about copying the seed to try and keep that character the same, and then you take this image into the image to video. And all I did was type in singing, and there you go. All of this from that one image. So that one was one of the better ones. And you'll notice that the image is the first frame. If you set it to make this image the last frame, it will animate everything beforehand, or if you make it the first frame, it will animate forward. But man, it's just unbelievable. Here are all the still image generation tests I had to go through to get a few good ones of her. Sometimes it requires a lot to get your character just right. Here's all the axes too. Now that you are a pro AI director of shots, let's take those shots into Premiere Pro. I sometimes generate thousands of shots for a music video, so I gotta stay organized. I will make folders for batches of shots I make like this, then organize them by category in Premiere. Or you can make a folder for guitarist shots and drummer shots and wide shots of the full band if you want here in your folders. I just find doing it in Premiere to be faster. What's really nice is you can just drag a whole folder into the Premiere project and they will come in like this, still in the folder. So start by grabbing all the folders, or just a few shots, and dragging them onto the little paper icon at the bottom of this window. This will make a new sequence with those shots. Now, it will be a 1280 by 768 sequence, because that's what Runway exports at the moment, which is kind of small, and not a 16 by 9 ratio. But we're going to fix this later. Also, drag your music in. Sometimes I'll mute the music while I'm just cherry-picking the best moments from my best shots. Hold Option and scroll with your mouse to zoom into the timeline. Now we're going to look for the best 2 or 3 seconds in each shot. I look for the most exciting part of a clip, or if his mouth is moving and I think I might be able to sync it up with the vocals, I'll pull that too. I like this exploding drive-through menu, so I'll hit the letter C on my keyboard to get the razor tool, and cut out that spot and move it up above the rest. Hit the S key to turn snapping on or off, probably one of the most important hotkeys to know. This way the razor tool will snap to the playhead, so you can do some precision surgery to your clips. Let's do this for a few more shots. The ones we really like, we'll put higher on the third video track. Then hold Option and scroll to zoom out, select everything and move them to the right, so we can then select the best moments and move them to the left, ready to be added to the edit. Let's move the top shots to the beginning. Since we like these so much, they will probably end up in the intro of the video. And if you want to close the gap between individual shots, click the gap and just hit delete. And bam, there you go. If you have a million little clips and you want to consolidate them all together, make sure there isn't any music underneath them. So doing this after the music on the right is best. Select those clips and go up top to Sequence and Close Gap. Or sometimes Shift and G works. Now listen to your music over and over again and imagine which shots should go where according to the lyrics, the visuals, and the drum hits in the song. This part is like a fun little puzzle for you to figure out. Then let's say you're happy with your edit. If you're anything like me, that'll be 17 years later, but at this point you'll make sure there's no gaps between clips and everything is perfect and lined up with the beginning of the tracks. But before rendering, we still have to fix the aspect ratio so it looks nice for YouTube. So let's go up into our project files and find the sequence we made earlier that I should have probably put into its own folder. But here it is with the name of the first clip that went in. Let's move him off on his own, then rename him something like My Music Video Version 1. Then we will click the New Sequence button and choose the option HD 1080p 23.976 FPS because the footage is 24 frames per second and this will work just fine. Name it My Music Video Render Version 1 and open that timeline and drop your original edit into there. Choose Keep Existing Settings, because the whole point of this is to change the aspect ratio settings of all of the clips at once. Now you'll see that the clips are small, and if you select the track and go to the Effects Controls panel and scale it up to fit, you'll see the problem. The footage is a different aspect ratio, and if uploaded to YouTube as is, it will have these black bars on the sides. So just scale it up a little more to 150 points and it fills the screen. Now if you notice the tops of people's heads getting cut off, or an object at the bottom of the screen getting cut off, you can go back into your edit by double-clicking the nested file in the timeline and move those clips up or down. But if you're happy with it, then just a few more steps before you release your masterpiece to the world. Move the nested clip over about half a second or 12 frames or so, just so it doesn't glitch out on YouTube, and cut off the intro. Then find the end of the edit and hit the letter O and go back to the beginning and hit the letter I to set the in and out points. If you have a logo for your YouTube channel, be sure to drop it in, have it run the length of the render area, scale it down, move it to the corner, and make it a little transparent if you want, and wow, no one would ever suspect it was made in a basement studio apartment. Now, you're asking yourself, can we please just render it already? I'm 72 years old at this point. Hit Command and M. Name it correctly, pick the render location, change the range to source in and out, and hit export on the bottom right. And we're so close to almost being done. Again, if you want to bump it up to 4K resolution, like how everything is these days, then we'll bring it into Topaz Labs. You can download the free trial of the app at topazlabs.com/topazvideoai. So let's open Topaz and just drag our clip in. This is Ricky from another tutorial, don't mind him. In the output dropdown, just select 3840 by 2160, also known as 4K. If you have any issues, there's a ton of settings, like add noise, recover detail, and you can even change frame rate, which is a game changer when dealing with editing footage of varying frame rates. So let's hit export. It will export to where the clip is with an _prob4 after the original name. And kaboom! You are now an amazing, loved, and respected music video producer, director, and animator, making millions of dollars and traveling the world as a super rock star. Just kidding. Results may vary greatly. One thing that's not a lie is my 700 free VFX clips on my site for use in any project. So subscribe to Dreamfire Films, like this video, sign up for free weekly VFX, comment below, but most importantly, just keep animating.
Voice swallows life, whispers die, rage against us.